I am so thrilled to have you here today because we're tackling a topic that's going to feel incredibly validating for a lot of you. We're looking at the psychology of people who hate award shows. Have you ever been sitting in a room while everyone else is glued to the TV, completely marveling at celebrity status, weeping over an Oscar speech, or obsessing over red carpet outfits, and you just feel absolutely nothing? Or, honestly worse, you feel this visceral, undeniable sense of cringe. While the rest of the world is busy celebrating these massive performative spectacles, you might find yourself thinking the whole thing is just entirely repulsive. Well, today, we are going to explore exactly why that happens. And spoiler alert, it's actually a sign of a highly distinct, unique psychological wiring. So I want to ask you directly, why do you find the red carpet so cringeworthy? When you look at the flashing cameras, the designer gowns, the gold trophies, and the tears, what is it that makes you literally just want to change the channel? For decades, mainstream culture has basically told us that if you don't enjoy these big celebrations of fame, well, you're just being negative, you're a buzzkill, you're raining on the parade, or you just don't know how to have fun. But what if your rejection of the red carpet isn't a character flaw at all? What if, actually, it's a reflection of how your mind uniquely processes the world around you? Okay, let's dive into this. The biggest misconception about this whole phenomenon is that you're just a cynical hater. But the truth, and this is heavily backed by the psychological frameworks we're unpacking today, is that your brain is simply wired differently to prioritize personal growth. That's right. Your lack of interest is not rooted in cynicism. Rather, it's a clear sign that your mind actively rejects the surface-level stimuli that mass televised entertainment completely relies on. Your brain doesn't see the value in performative rituals because it's completely occupied with seeking out true intrinsic motivation. Let's move into section 1, rejecting vicarious emotion, why strangers' trophies don't move you. Let's talk about vicarious emotion. This is experiencing feelings through the actions and successes of another person. I really want you to think about this carefully for a second. The entire foundation of mass televised entertainment, and especially award shows, relies entirely on audiences feeling joy or triumph or validation through a complete stranger's success. The broadcast is literally designed to make you feel like you won the award just by watching someone else win it. It's a highly engineered emotional transfer. But if your brain doesn't naturally engage in this specific type of emotional transfer, well, the entire spectacle suddenly falls incredibly flat. And this is exactly what happens for a specific group of people. Self-focused thinkers naturally reject vicarious emotion. If you're someone who's deeply invested in your own personal mastery and growth, your brain just fails to find joy in watching performative success. You're wired to experience triumph through your own actions, through your own overcoming of complex challenges, and your own personal learning. So trying to derive genuine joy from watching a celebrity who you've never even met except a shiny statue, that feels completely hollow to a self-focused thinker. Your brain effectively short-circuits the spectacle because it recognizes, hey, that achievement doesn't belong to me, so the emotion shouldn't either. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how this rejection evolves into a broader psychological state known as existential detachment. This is defined as a psychological state of feeling disconnected from superficial societal rituals in favor of deeper meaning. When you possess existential detachment, watching celebrity awards doesn't just feel boring, it feels completely absurd. You look at the red carpet and you just see a very strange, highly choreographed ritual that society has arbitrarily decided is super important. But because you're out there searching for deeper meaning, these superficial rituals just bounce right off of you. Moving right along to section 2. Intrinsic motivation and meaning. Metrics versus mastery. Think about this fascinating contrast. On one side, we've got performative rituals and metrics. This is what the mass audience desires, right? External validation, celebrity status, who got the most votes, who wore the most expensive designer dress. It's all easily measurable, surface-level metrics. But on the other side, we have personal mastery and meaning. And this is what the deep thinker requires. You aren't interested in the metrics of fame, you're interested in the actual substance of the work itself. When you watch an award show, you're literally watching a celebration of metrics, which is exactly why your mind, which is hungry for genuine meaning, immediately checks out. And that brings us to intrinsic motivation. This is being driven by internal rewards and personal mastery, rather than external fame or celebrity status. This right here is the core engine of the deep thinker. You do things because the act of doing them is rewarding, not because you want a massive audience to applaud you. Therefore, when you're presented with an industry that is entirely built on extrinsic motivation, people dressing up to be judged, scored, and handed a shiny trophy by their peers, it clashes violently with your psychological framework. Prioritizing this intrinsic motivation over performative rituals is exactly why you lack interest in these events.
Let's look at the brain in Section 3, dopamine and arousal preferences, inside the deep thinker's brain.
There are three specific neurological areas where a deep thinker's brain naturally clashes with mass televised entertainment. First off, you have unique dopamine triggers. Your brain just doesn't release the reward chemical, dopamine, for the same superficial stimuli as the mass audience does. Second, there's the battle between internal versus external validation. Your brain regulates its sense of satisfaction internally, which makes external applause neurologically irrelevant to you. And third, specific arousal preferences. The flashing lights, the shouting paparazzi, the dramatic musical cues of an award show, they simply don't match the level of cognitive arousal your brain actually finds stimulating. And this brilliantly illustrates the divide. When we look at mass televised entertainment, the stimulus trigger is the external flash and celebrity validation. The resulting neurological reward is that vicarious thrill we discussed earlier. But look at the deep thinker's mind below it. Your stimulus trigger is entirely different. It's complex, self-directed challenges. And because your trigger is different, your neurological reward is different. You receive a hit of intrinsic personal growth. These two systems are fundamentally incompatible. Your brain is essentially a machine built to process complex, self-directed challenges. So feeding it the external flash of a red carpet, it's literally like trying to run a supercomputer on AA batteries. It just doesn't work. Finally, we arrive at Section 4, the deep thinker's brain, cognitive independence. So the crucial point is cognitive independence. This is defined as the ability to think self-directedly and resist conforming to mainstream cultural spectacles. When your brain naturally ignores all the cultural hype, it's actually exercising cognitive independence. You're not just being stubborn. Your mind is actively protecting its resources. It's reserving its energy and its focus for pursuits that actually align with your personal growth. This independence is what allows you to stand completely unfazed in the middle of a massive cultural frenzy, absolutely secure in your own internal compass. I really want you to consider this quote. A lack of interest is a sign of a mind that prioritizes meaning over metrics. If you have ever felt weird or out of place for not caring about celebrity status or who won what award, I want to firmly validate you right now. Your rejection of the red carpet is quite literally a badge of existential awareness. You are choosing substance over spectacle. You are choosing mastery over metrics. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought that I really hope sparks some deep curiosity about your own potential. If your unique, cognitively independent brain naturally rejects the red carpet, what personal mastery is it asking you to focus on instead? Where is your intrinsic motivation trying to lead you, while the rest of the world is just distracted by the show? Thank you so much for joining me to explore the psychology of the deep thinker today. Now go out there and build something meaningful.